everyone. Welcome to another Music Talk Tuesday, and today I'm going to be briefly diving into some songs that are about winter. And these are all going to be songs that are mentioned within the lyrics, technically, some form of winter, or sort of describe winter. And so there is no instrumental work here, just straightforward songs that we may, at least some of you may or may not have heard of. There's actually songs that I've compiled on this list that I initially didn't hear about. But without further ado, let me address the first song being A Hazy Shade of Winter by Simon and Garfunkel. This song I think is really well recognized. This is probably one of the more famous Simon and Garfunkel songs, although I'm sure there are others that would say that there are other songs that are maybe a little bit more popular that were done by them. But regardless of where this song stands as far as the totem pole of Simon and Garfunkel songs, it's still really good and reflects onto something that I think is actually really interesting about the whole concept of winter. Here in the song, it kind of addresses time and how it's kind of passing by really quickly, and as a result, we start seeing the sort of scenery transform into winter. And I think this is relatively true in how we kind of look back on the year and see all the different things that have come and gone throughout all the different seasons. And winter is really supposed to reflect an ending and sort of a new beginning, since we kind of have December as really the starting month of winter, and have it sort of continue on within January and February of the next year. So it is very interesting in that sense that it is really focusing on that angle, which I think ultimately works to the song's advantage, because it is overall not only well done but fast paced. You almost feel like that the narrator's kind of being taken sort of on a journey, and his life is kind of flashing before his eyes. It's one of those songs that sort of taps into the psyche of people, that really makes them think about time and how it's gone by so fast, and that where they were at one moment is not the same as where they are now. And again, since time sometimes goes by so quickly, I think sometimes people tend to forget, maybe the decisions that they made, or maybe regret certain actions that they took. So it's a very, I think, reflective time in that sense. And winter, I think, really hits home. And when he says, sort of, look around, the leaves are brown, and the sky's a hazy shade of winter. It just shows you the complete transformation and transitioning into another season, hence the patch of snow on the ground that's within the lyrics. That it's really transforming the whole surroundings, and largely that has to do with the fact that all the other seasons have gone, and winter is really the last part of the year, really. And I think that's really something that I think was at least really important within the context of this particular song, and it works, I think, very effectively in getting that message across, and really well done. But I think that's ultimately all I can say about that particular song. Now moving on to Wintertime Blues by Big Maceo Merriweather, I believe. And this one is interesting because instead of the Simon and Garfunkel sort of more folksy styled genre, we have a sort of blues genre here. And it basically discusses a woman who ultimately ends up treating the narrator poorly and harshly, and is sort of reflective onto the sort of cruelty of winter. So again, her whole actions are sort of a metaphor for this time of year, uh, and this is what is ultimately causing him to want to leave the relationship. Um, and it does feel like it is a bummer. It does sound like the narrator is falling on hard times, and it is even emphasized within the song that he doesn't really have a whole lot of money. So he is not in a, I guess you could say, good state. And I think sometimes winter, although it has its positive aspects to it here, I think it shows too that, winter has this very kind of dark uh, undertone to it sometimes because there is such harsh aspects to it. In particular, just the fact that there's snow everywhere and that it is very cold, and it has this harsh grit to it. And you can sort of see that um, being felt at least on the character, as or at least the narrator within the song, as he's sort of describing um, the woman as this winter, so to speak, and basically, sort of a storm is coming, and um, he sort of needs to get away from the storm, so to speak. Uh, and I think overall it works. And again, even though it is primarily designed to be more metaphorical, it still offers something that I think is sort of true to the kind of reality of winter itself, which is the characteristic of being fairly, again, not as you know peaceful or calm as a lot of the other seasons, and a little bit more chaotic and um, extreme. And hence we have this sort of interesting metaphor as a result, with wintertime blues sort of being a woman being mean. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about that song. Moving on to the third one, A Marshmallow World by Dean Martin. This one is actually a lot of fun because it is probably the most, I guess you could say, holiday out of all of the songs that I've been mentioning so far, because um, it really ultimately describes how cheery winter is, because it's like a marshmallow, and again, this I think perfectly describes the very picturesque elements that we often associate with winter, like seeing the blanketed snow and seeing the trees all white, sprinkled with white, and seeing the snow kind of dance and fall around you. That whole atmosphere is extremely, or at least done extremely well within the context of the song, because you do see it not only highlighted throughout the lyrics, but you also feel it with the emotions that the instrumentals sort of bring out. And it ultimately, I think, works to the song's advantage, and it makes it feel like a genuine sort of winter song. And you sort of get into that very upbeat and sort of go lucky spirit that I think oftentimes we come to associate, at least around with this time of year. So, again, it paints a completely different picture. And it's kind of ironic because you can get a lot of different things out of, in particular, this time of year. I mean, I think when it comes to whether or not it is cruel or it is good or happy, there's a lot of variety that can be derived out of winter itself. And this is also, again, clearly showcased within this song, but a little bit more so on the happier side, as opposed to the two previous songs that are a little bit more focused in on concepts that are a little bit more designed to kind of hit the audience in a different way. Second to last song that I wanted to briefly address is Snowbound by Genesis, and this song is really interesting. It has this very magical and mysterious um, sound to it, with also a lot of power at certain points, with the vocals as well as the instrumentals. And although I can't necessarily say what exactly the song is about, because I think you can get a variety of different interpretations out of it, but what it seems to me, at least from what I could tell, is that there is supposed to be this snowman. Now, as to what exactly, who, and what the snowman is, it's not really defined. But it's kind of emphasized that this snowman is kind of underground, so to speak. So, and the children and the people that are kind of enjoying the snow are sort of unaware of the snowman sort of being under the surface. And I think this could have a variety of different connotations to it, from people ignoring, maybe uh, people that maybe need help, or it could mean that, they're that nature, in this case winter, um, is kind of like a uh, natural element in that it brings joy and happiness to people, but then it can also bring this very dark sadness and misery. So again, there's a lot of different things that I think you could get from this particular song, and I kind of like the fact that it tries to kind of combine uh, two kinds of perspectives sort of together, and in doing so, kind of create its own unique thing out of it. And I think ultimately here it works, and is, I think, uh, one of the more, I would say, I guess, overlooked songs of Genesis, only because, um, when you, I think, hear the full song, there's a lot of different things going on within it that I think you can derive a lot of different meaning out of. So uh, that's what I think also makes it rather unique and interesting. So I think that's a song that's definitely worthy of recommendation if you're interested in that kind of perspective on winter. And last but certainly not least, Winter Song by Sara Bareilles and Ingrid Michaelson. Um, what I think works to this song's advantage is the fact that it is very calm and soothing for the majority. So it kind of puts you in that mood of, um, again, the calmness that a sort of winter sometimes brings to people. Um, this kind of sense of peace and, um, sort of, I guess, resolution, considering the fact that, again, winter is really the transitionary period of time from the old year to the new year. Um, but as far as the context of the song within the lyrics, it sort of discusses, how the narrator is writing this winter song for the person that she loves. And throughout the song, she's kind of sort of beckoning that one person to sort of come to her. And, sort of in doing so, she'll bring love to that one particular person and sort of give that person, light and, um, because I think it's largely trying to bring up the fact that, when it comes to, in particular, winter and around this time of year, it's fairly cold. It's very, uh, it's almost distance, but at the same time, um, it's a period where people sort of come together, so to speak. And I think that's kind of part of what it's sort of talking about here, is to sort of bring out the love, and the uh, joy uh, within winter, um, and in doing so, bringing people sort of closer together, despite the cold and harsh conditions that may surround the time of year. But I think that's ultimately all I can say about all of these songs. I'll be sure to put all of the songs within the video description so that you may enjoy them. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. And until next time, goodbye, happy holidays, Merry Christmas.